I didn't think much of the assignment at first. We'd been sent to check on a location that had gone quiet. No signals, no recent activity, just silence. The place wasn't marked on standard maps, only internal records. A small compound deep in a forested area, far from any main road. Our team had done similar checks before. Usually, it was nothing. Abandoned sites, equipment left behind, sometimes just technical issues. But something about this one felt different. I couldn't explain it at the time, just a feeling. My name is Daniel Reeves, Field Operations. I've been doing this long enough to trust my instincts. And this time, they were telling me to be careful. We arrived just before sunset. 5 of us. Standard formation. Minimal conversation. The road leading in was barely visible. Overgrown. Like it hadn't been used in a long time. That's a good sign, Carter joked from behind me. Means nobody's around. I didn't respond, because the gate ahead of us was open. Not broken, not damaged. Just open. Someone was here, I said. Or they left in a hurry, Carter replied. But that didn't make sense, because as we stepped inside, everything looked untouched. Buildings stood in place, windows intact, doors closed. No signs of struggle, no damage. Just quiet, too quiet. We split into pairs. Standard sweep. Check everything the team leader said. Report anything unusual. Carter and I took the left side. A row of small structures. The first door we opened still had items inside. Clothes, tools, personal belongings. All neatly placed. Feels like people just stepped out, Carter said. Yeah, I replied. But they didn't come back. We continued moving. Room by room, everything was the same. Nothing missing, nothing disturbed. It didn't feel abandoned. It felt paused. Halfway through the sweep, I noticed something else. No sound, not even wind. The trees outside weren't moving. That's weird, I muttered. What Carter asked, just listen. He stopped, waited, then frowned. Yeah, that's not normal. We stood there for a few seconds. Then a faint sound. Metal, somewhere in the distance. A soft tap. We both turned toward it. You heard that Carter asked. Yeah. We waited. Nothing. Then again. Tap. Same direction. Center of the compound, I said. Carter hesitated. We should call it in first. I reached for my radio. Static. Just static. That's not good, Carter said. No, I replied. It's not. We looked at each other, then back toward the sound. And without saying it out loud, we both knew we were going to check it anyway. We shouldn't have gone deeper. Looking back now, that was the moment we still had a choice. We could have pulled back, waited for support, filed a report, but we didn't. The sound came again. That same faint metallic tap, somewhere ahead of us. Still hearing it, Carter asked quietly. Yeah, I said. It's consistent, not random. Not wind. Something was making that sound. We moved slowly through the path between the buildings, heading toward the center of the compound. The deeper we went, the more that feeling returned, that strange stillness. It wasn't just quiet. It felt controlled, like the entire place was holding its breath. You ever get that feeling? Carter said suddenly, like you're not supposed to be somewhere. I glanced at him. Yeah, I replied. I'm getting it now. We reached the inner section of the compound, a larger open space. At the center, a pavilion, old structure, wood and metal, still standing. That's new, Carter said. Wasn't in the layout briefing. Yeah, I said, which means we check it. Another metallic tap echoed, louder now. From inside the pavilion, we stopped just short of the entrance. Something about it felt off, not broken, not abandoned. Just wrong. The air was cooler here, and heavier. Let's not rush this, Carter said. Agreed. We stepped inside. The sound stopped immediately. No delay, no fade. Just gone. Carter let out a slow breath. Okay. I don't like that. Neither do I said. The interior was simple. Open space. Support beams. a single lantern hanging from the center. It was on, dim, but steady. That shouldn't be possible, Carter said. Power source, I asked. He shook his head. Nothing visible. We moved closer. The ground beneath our feet felt different, solid, but not quite, like there was something underneath. I crouched slightly, ran my hand just above the surface. Don't touch it, Carter said quickly. I'm not, I replied, but I was close enough to feel it, a faint vibration, like a low hum. You feel that? I asked. Carter stepped closer, paused, then nodded slowly. Yeah. Neither of us said anything for a few seconds. Then the radio crackled. Both of us froze. Dan Carter, report. The voice was distorted, but familiar. Leader, I said, grabbing the radio. Do not stay. Repeat. Do not stay. The signal cut. Static again. Carter stared at me. Did he just say? I heard it, I said. We both looked around. At the pavilion. At the lantern. At the ground. Maybe we should listen to that, Carter said. Yeah, I replied. But something's not right. Something hasn't been right since we got here. He wasn't wrong. I stood up slowly. And that's when I noticed it. Footprints. Faint, barely visible in the dust, leading into the pavilion, but not out. Carter saw them too. They all came here, he said quietly. I followed the prints with my eyes. They circled the center, overlapping, like people had been standing here for a long time. They didn't leave, I said. The words felt heavier than they should have. Carter shifted uncomfortably. Okay, that's enough. We check one more thing, then we go. I nodded. That was the plan. One more look, then we leave. I stepped closer to the center. The lantern flickered slightly, and for a brief moment I thought I saw movement. Not clear, just a shape. Standing where the light didn't fully reach. I blinked. It was gone. You see that? I asked. See what Carter replied. Nothing, I said quickly. But it wasn't nothing. I knew what I saw, or at least what I thought I saw. The air shifted again. Subtle, but noticeable. Like the temperature dropped just a little more. Then the sound returned. Not the metal tapping. Something else. Softer. Lower. A hum. Carter's posture stiffened. You hear that too? Yeah. We stood completely still, listening. The sound didn't come from one direction. It was everywhere, surrounding us. Stay. I froze. That wasn't just a sound. That was a word. Did you just... Carter started. I heard it, I said. Don't leave. Clearer now. Not loud, but impossible to ignore. Carter backed away slowly. Nope, we're done. We're leaving. I didn't move, because something about the sound, it didn't feel threatening. It felt calm. Too calm. You're safe. My chest tightened. That was the moment something changed. Not outside. Inside. A thought. A quiet one. Maybe we didn't need to rush. Maybe we could stay a little longer. Just understand it. Just figure it out. Dan Carter snapped. I blinked. What I said. We're leaving. Now. Yeah, I replied. But my voice didn't sound as certain anymore. Carter grabbed my arm. Hey, look at me. I did. His expression was serious. Focused. Whatever that is. It's not normal. I know, I said. Then we go. No more checking. No more waiting. I hesitated. Just for a second. And that second felt longer than it should have. Then the lantern flickered violently. The hum stopped. Silence returned. Heavy. Pressing. And in that silence, we heard footsteps. Not ours. Slow. Deliberate. Just outside the pavilion. Carter's grip tightened. Tell me that's one of ours, he whispered. I didn't answer, because I already knew it wasn't. The footsteps stopped, right at the entrance. Neither of us moved. Neither of us spoke. Then a voice, calm, close. You shouldn't be here. Carter's breathing hitched. I turned slowly toward the entrance, and that's when I saw it. A figure, standing just outside the light, still watching us. I forced myself to speak. Who are you? I asked. No answer, just silence. Then it took one step forward, into the light, and everything in me told me something was very, very wrong. The figure didn't rush us. It didn't react the way a normal person would. It just stood there, half in the light, half in shadow, like it had been waiting for us to notice it. For a few seconds, neither Carter nor I moved. "Say something," Carter whispered under his breath. "I already did," I replied quietly, not taking my eyes off it. It didn't answer. The figure tilted its head slightly. The movement was slow, almost mechanical, like it wasn't used to doing it. "You shouldn't be here," it repeated. Same tone, same calm delivery, not angry, not aggressive, just certain. I took a small step forward before I even realized I was doing it. "Who are you?" I asked again. Still no answer. Carter grabbed my sleeve, pulling me back slightly. "Don't get closer," he said. "Something's off." He didn't have to tell me that. I could feel it. There was something wrong with the way the figure stood. Not posture, exactly, more like presence. It didn't shift its weight, didn't breathe noticeably, didn't react to us the way a person normally would. "You're not part of our team," I said. "So how long have you been here?" The figure didn't respond right away. For a moment, I thought it wouldn't respond at all. Then it spoke. Long enough. Carter exhaled sharply beside me. "Okay, I don't like that answer." Neither did I. The lantern above us flickered again, briefly dimming before stabilizing. When the light dipped, the figure seemed closer than before, but I hadn't seen it move. I told myself it was just the lighting. "Where is everyone else?" I asked. A pause. Then they stayed. That same phrase again. Carter shook his head. "What does that even mean?" Stayed where? The figure didn't look at him. Its focus stayed on me. "They heard it," it said. My chest tightened slightly. Heard what? No response. The air inside the pavilion felt heavier now, like the space itself was pressing inward. The faint hum we'd heard earlier hadn't returned, but I could still feel something under the surface. Not a sound, more like a memory of one. Carter leaned closer to me. "We're done here," he muttered. "We need to go. Right now." He was right. Every logical part of me agreed. But there was another part, quieter, harder to ignore, that wanted to understand what was happening here. "What is this place?" I asked. The figure tilted its head again. Then, for the first time, it took another step forward, closer into the light. I could see more now. Still, not clearly, but enough. Its face looked normal. Too normal. No clear expression. No emotion. Just a neutral stillness that didn't feel natural. "You came to check it?" said. "Yes," I replied carefully. "You always do?" That made me pause. "Always," Carter repeated. The figure didn't acknowledge him. "You come," it continued. "You look, you listen, and then you decide. Decide what I asked, whether to leave or to stay." The words didn't sound like a warning. They sounded like a process, like something that had happened more than once. A cold realization started forming in my mind. "This has happened before," I said slowly. The figure didn't confirm it, but it didn't deny it either. "They all asked the same questions," it said. My stomach tightened. All of them I asked. A small pause. Then, at first, Carter let out a quiet, nervous laugh. "Okay, that's it. We're leaving. Dan, now." I didn't argue this time. I nodded once. "Yeah, we're going." I took a step back. The figure didn't follow. It just watched. "You should go," it said. The tone hadn't changed, but something about it felt heavier, like there was more behind the words than it was saying. "We are," Carter replied quickly. We turned toward the exit of the pavilion. Every step felt slower than it should have, like moving through something thick and unseen. I resisted the urge to look back. We were almost at the entrance when "You heard it too." I stopped. Carter didn't. He kept moving, then turned back when he realized I wasn't behind him. Danny said sharper now, "Don't," but I had already turned around. The figure was still there. Same position, same stillness. "What do you mean?" I asked. A pause. Then, when you touched the ground, my heart skipped. I hadn't told it that. I hadn't told anyone that I'd felt something. You felt it. The figure continued. That's how it starts. Carter stepped between us slightly. We're done talking. We're leaving. You can, the figure said. No resistance. No attempt to stop us. You still can. The way it said it made something tighten in my chest. Still, I repeated. Another pause. Then the figure shifted its gaze slightly past me, toward the trees. Instinctively, I followed its line of sight. At first, I didn't see anything. Just darkness between the trunks. Then, movement. Subtle, but there. Shapes. More than one. Standing between the trees. Watching. I took a step back. Carter, I said quietly. I see them, he replied immediately. There were several of them, not moving, not approaching, just there, like they had always been there. They stayed too, the figure said behind us. I turned back sharply. How many, I asked. It didn't answer directly. Instead, it said enough. That wasn't helpful. If anything, it made it worse. Carter grabbed my arm again. We're leaving. Right now. No more questions. This time I didn't hesitate. Yeah, I said. We go. We stepped out of the pavilion. The moment we crossed the threshold, the air felt slightly lighter. Not normal, but better. Behind us, the figure didn't follow. In front of us, the shapes in the trees remained, still, watching. We started moving toward the outer path. Slow at first, then faster. No one ran, but everyone wanted to. Halfway across the compound, I made the mistake of looking back. The pavilion was still visible, the lantern still lit, and around it, more figures. Not just one anymore, several, standing where we had been, facing our direction, watching us leave. I turned forward quickly and kept walking. We didn't stop until we reached the edge of the compound. The gate, still open, just like before. As we stepped through it, that heavy feeling dropped again. More noticeably this time, like stepping out of a pressure zone. Carter let out a long breath. We're not going back in there. Ever. No, I said. But even as I said it, I wasn't sure it was that simple, because something about that place didn't feel contained. And the last thing I heard, right before we fully left the compound, was that same quiet voice. Calm. Certain. Right behind us. You listened. I didn't turn around. I didn't want to, because deep down, I knew something had already changed. We didn't stop moving until the compound was completely out of sight. Even then, no one slowed down. The trees stretched endlessly in every direction, but somehow it felt better than staying anywhere near that place. The silence was still there, but it wasn't the same kind. It didn't feel like it was listening anymore. Carter finally spoke first. Tell me, we're reporting this exactly as it is. I shook my head slightly. We'll report what we can explain. He gave me a look. And the rest. I didn't answer, because I didn't have one. We reached the extraction point just as the sky began to lighten. The shift from night to early morning should have felt reassuring, but it didn't. If anything, it made everything feel more distant. Like what we experienced was already starting to fade into something unreal. The rest of the team regrouped quietly. No one asked too many questions. No one wanted to be the first to say it out loud. They had seen enough, heard enough, felt enough. When the helicopter arrived, the sound of it cutting through the air felt almost out of place. Too loud, too normal. Like it didn't belong in the same reality as what we had just walked away from. We boarded quickly. No delays, no final looks back, at least not for most of us. I made the mistake of looking. As we lifted off, the forest stretched beneath us, dense and unbroken. The compound was already hidden from view, swallowed by the trees. But for a brief second, through a gap in the canopy, I thought I saw something. A clearing, and within it, small, still shapes, standing exactly where the pavilion would be. I looked away immediately. I didn't mention it. There was no point. The flight back was quiet. No one talked about what happened. Not directly. Just small, unrelated comments. Anything to avoid circling back to it. But the silence between those words said enough. Back at base, everything shifted into routine. Debriefings, reports, individual statements, standard procedure. Describe what you encountered, they said. Environmental irregularities, I replied. Unusual acoustic phenomena. Limited visibility. All true, none complete. They asked about the signal loss, the structures, the condition of the site. I answered everything carefully, measured, controlled. When they asked if we encountered any individuals, I paused. Then I said no confirmed contact. That wasn't entirely true, but it was the safest version of it. Carter didn't look at me when I said it, but I knew he noticed. We all signed off on the same version of events. Simplified, contained, closed. Officially, the case was resolved within a week. No further investigation scheduled. No return mission planned. The location was marked as inactive. Just another entry in a long list of places that no one needed to revisit. At least that's how it looked on paper. For a while, things felt normal again, or close to it. Work continued. Routine resumed. Days passed without anything unusual. I told myself it was over, that we had left it behind, that whatever was in that place stayed there. But then slowly, something changed. At first, it was barely noticeable, a habit. I started avoiding noise, turning things off earlier than usual, sitting in silence longer than I used to. It felt easier, calmer. I told myself it was just stress, a way to decompress. Nothing more. Then the dreams started. Not vivid, not detailed, just fragments, a structure, a faint light, the feeling of standing still for a long time, not moving, not needing to. Waking up from them didn't feel like waking up. It felt like being pulled away from something unfinished. That's when I started noticing the sound again. Not always, not constantly, just sometimes. Usually at night, when everything else was quiet. A low hum, familiar, subtle, easy to ignore if I wanted to, but I didn't always want to. That was the part that concerned me. One night, I stayed awake longer than usual. No reason, just waiting. The room was completely still. No outside noise, no distractions. And then I heard it, clearer than before. Stay. I didn't react right away. I just sat there, listening. You're safe. The words weren't loud, but they didn't need to be. They felt close, closer than they should have been. I stood up slowly and walked across the room, checked the window, closed, checked the door, locked. Everything normal. Everything exactly where it should be. And yet, the feeling remained. That same quiet pressure, not threatening, not urgent, just present. I sat back down, tried to think logically, tried to break it down into something I could explain. But every explanation felt incomplete, because logic didn't account for one detail. The familiarity. That sound, it wasn't new, it wasn't random. I had heard it before, back in the pavilion, when I touched the ground, when I paused, when I listened. You heard it too. The memory came back clearly now, and with it, the realization I had been avoiding. That moment hadn't ended when we left. It had followed. Or maybe it had started there. Days turned into weeks. The sound didn't get louder. It didn't become constant. But it became easier to notice, easier to recognize, and harder to ignore. I found myself pausing more often, in quiet places, in empty rooms, just listening. Not because I had to, because part of me wanted to. That was the part I didn't trust, the part that understood the voice, the part that didn't feel afraid of it anymore. One evening, Carter called me. First time since the mission. We didn't talk about work, not at first, just normal conversation. Careful, distant. Then, after a pause, he said, "You ever feel like something didn't stay behind?" I didn't answer immediately. I didn't need to ask what he meant. Sometimes, I said. Another pause. Then he said quieter, I hear it too. That confirmed it. It wasn't just me. We didn't say much after that. There wasn't anything useful to add. No solution. No explanation. Just shared understanding. Before hanging up, he said one more thing. Whatever it is, don't listen to it. I told him I wouldn't, and I meant it, at least at the time. But the truth is, it's not that simple, because it doesn't sound dangerous. It doesn't feel threatening. It doesn't force anything. It just waits. Patient, calm, certain, and sometimes, late at night, when everything is completely still, I catch myself doing the same thing we did back there. Pausing, listening, not moving, just for a moment, just long enough to hear it clearly. Stay. And every time, it feels a little more familiar, a little more reasonable. Like maybe there was a reason they stayed. Like maybe they weren't lost, they just made a different choice. I haven't gone back. I don't plan to, but I'm not sure that matters anymore, because whatever was in that place was never just the place. It was the silence, the idea, the invitation. And once you hear it, once you understand it, it doesn't need to follow you. It doesn't need to reach out again, because a part of you is already listening, still, quiet, waiting. And one day, if I stay still long enough, I'm not sure I won't answer.